Hey guys, and welcome to my basement, aka my seed starting headquarters this year. In the past, I have waited until the temperatures were right outside or really tried to super insulate my little greenhouse so that I could start seeds outside because I was starting seeds at a massive scale, massive for me as a mainly home gardener. But this year I'm really scaling back, so that means for one, I can start fun seeds. I can start little bips and bops of seeds of all kinds without rhyme or reason and without counting, which is lovely as a person with undiagnosed adult ADHD. But this year, like I said, I'm starting seeds early inside that are going to go in the tunnel first, most likely. And this is my setup. It's not nice or fancy or perfect, and most everything I have is secondhand or old. So I'm showing you on a realistic, relatable level, unless you have money, and lucky you, how you can start seeds on a budget. Here's my personal list of things that you absolutely have to have if you're going to start seeds inside. For one, a seedling heat mat. Very important. New gardeners usually skip this step because they think I'll just put it somewhere warm, but air temperature warmth and in direct heat, like bottom warmth, are two very different things. Your soil temperature is actually going to be about 10 to 20 degrees cooler than your air temperature. So if the back of the seed packet says that it likes to germinate at 75 degrees, your soil temperature is actually 55. So for one, you're not going to have as good of germination rates, and for two, it's going to take a lot longer. And I don't know if you're like me, but every time I start seeds, I end up looking at my things that I seeded just like this every single day. Have you sprouted yet? Two, you absolutely have to have some kind of lighting for your plants. Obviously, plants grow by photosynthesizing light. Now, they're not going to live out their whole eternity under these lights, so it gives you a little leeway on what kind of lights that you can have. For years and years and years, I just used regular shop lights that you can buy for like $10 to $15 at the store for like a 4-foot light. Works perfectly fine. This year, I bumped up to actual grow lights just because I found a killer marketplace deal. Because I bought 40 lights. This is the brand that I have. I paid about $6 a light, give or take $1 or so. I'm not good at math. I paid about $6 per light. Now these are 2-foot lights, so really it's per tray. So I could do 40 trays at a time if I wanted to. But when you buy those new, it's like $30 to $40, so it's not really a feasible option. But keep your eyes out for those deals, okay? I be surfing Facebook Marketplace every day. Gets me into trouble sometimes, but sometimes I find really good deals. Those are the lights that I'm currently using. Now these are full spectrum lights, so with a regular shop light, it's perfectly fine for growing seedlings under those lights, but it's not good for fruiting because to produce the fruit of for your plant, it needs a certain spectrum of light for fruiting plants just to get everything it requires to make that fruit, because it takes more energy to do so. So I thought that if I invested in these lights, for one, they last a really, really long time because they're LED. I did buy this when I very first started gardening in 2019, and it still works. So 6 years old and they're still going. So I'm going to have these lights for a long time. But I thought next year I can experiment with growing inside because I'm in a very cold climate. This is what it looks like outside. I actually wish that I was filming this outside, because I'm going a little bit more insane with each passing day. Winter is taking big parts of my soul with it, so I need springtime to hurry up. So I thought that this coming winter, to kind of keep the winter blues at bay, I might be able to grow some of my own food. Plus, food prices, I'm not sure if you're aware, are really expensive right now. And as a person who grows like 90% of my food for only 70% of the year, I would say. Really, January, February, March are the worst in both outdoor weather and also growing conditions. If I can keep my plants going all winter, I'm saving money and it's making me happy. So that's in the plans for this coming year. And then obviously you need somewhere to put your lights. So I have these lovely plastic shelving units. We are going to be adding more shelving down here. I have lots of metal racks, which also keep your eye out for on Facebook Marketplace, especially when they have the rolly feet, because you can roll them around to wherever you need them. And they're going to last you forever, so if you have to invest a little money in it, that's okay. And the shelves are adjustable. Like this is all the length that I'm going to get out of this. With the metal shelving, you can adjust how high and low. And you can see I got really super technical, and I tie in very fancy way to hang the lights. No, I looked around and I said I have some yarn and I tied the lights up, because that's all I had time to do and resources, and it doesn't matter. Another essential part of growing inside is that you have to have somewhere to put your lights. Another common mistake that new gardeners make is putting their lights way too far away from their new baby plants. So these lights are obviously, even though they're grow lights, they're not as strong as the sun. So a good rule of thumb is to keep your lights about 6 inches away from your plants. Now this is a little closer than that, but that's where the yarn comes in handy, because then I just tie it tighter to raise it up. But that means that as your plants grow, your lights grow with it. So as your plants get taller, your light gets taller. And then once your plants are pretty big, your lights don't have to be as concentrated, because they have more leaves to collect more light. But when they're small, they really need to be pretty close to your plants for success. Because you can see even here, you don't want your seedlings to become what's called leggy. Now these aren't too leggy to be too far gone, but you see how stretched out these are versus this side that was closer to the light, nice and short. It just makes a stronger plant when it's not so long like that. It's reaching for the light. You really want your plants to be nice and short and stocky, and to have nice, short, stocky plants, you need lights that are close to them. It's also a good idea to have a fan going. That will strengthen the stems from the wind blowing across, but I'm not that worried about it, because these are only going to spend a few weeks in here before I can move them out to the greenhouse. But if you're growing plants inside of your home for like the full 6 to 8 weeks, you would want some kind of wind blowing across. You can also, once or twice a day, whenever you come down to stare at your new baby plants, you just run your hand across them, and that stresses them a little bit, which sends a signal to them that they need to make bulkier stems. So you can pet your plants and it will make them stronger. And number 3 and 4 that you absolutely have to have, you have to have soil. Obviously, your soil really matters. I know that it's kind of expensive and you think that you can skimp on the soil part, but it's really not good. If you go for a cheap potting soil, it's just going to be a lot of sticks and mulch and a little bit of soil. So by going up, I always like to get an organic potting soil, just so that it doesn't have artificial fertilizers in it. And in the future, I would really like to try to make my own, but everything outside is frozen right now. So I had to buy potting soil from the store. I was limited on what they had, so I got Miracle-Gro Organics. And that's just gonna have to be good enough. And then lastly, you absolutely have to have something to grow it in. What most new gardeners use are plug trays. If you've been here very long, you know that I hate them. But they work for a lot of people, so if that's you, you do you. Your second option, I'm in my basement, which has spiders, so I really have to check what I pick up. But remember those seeds we started last week? Look at them, they're growing. You can buy these little 6-pack cells, super cheap, but doesn't last. I mean, if you take care of things, it's gonna last you at least a couple seasons. But if you're hard on things like me, a lot get broken. You obviously need something to put those in, or pots, but you also have to make sure they have drainage holes. I've used solo cups. I still use solo cups. But also, if you've been here very long, you know I love soil blocking, which eliminates the plastic waste, and it makes transplanting a breeze because you don't have to like pull anything out of a pot. You just like rip these soil blocks apart. One of my very favorite ways. But this year, I'm doing a mixture of everything because that's just how I roll. I have some things in 6-packs, some things in pots, some things are soil blocked. And this year, I'm going to try the seed snail. I saw this last year on the interwebs, and I really want to try it. Now, you need a bottom tray because you don't want, when you're inside, you can't just top water everything and it run onto the ground because it's going to make a giant mess that you're going to have to clean up. So I buy these plastic trays. They last me a few seasons. But if you didn't have access to that, or you only really needed a couple, you know what works? These have been in my greenhouse for quite some time, and there's scary amounts of spider webs in here. But like these basting trays, these like metal cook pans, work just as good, and you can get them at the dollar store. You also need a watering can, but you could just as easy use a cup if you don't have a watering can. Now, for the seed snail idea, I've seen people use like foam, like thin foam that's flexible, and they roll it up. I've seen people use bubble wrap. This is really a time to use your imagination, for one. For two, use what you have. This whole project could be free minus the seeds and the potting soil if you just use your trash. I, however, have this reflective insulation. This was given to me, so technically it's still free. If you become the person that puts it out into the universe that I will take things that you're throwing away, people will give you just about anything. One man's trash was another woman's treasure, okay? But these are pretty tall. It's like 12-inch. I don't know how tall this is. And so I think I can get away with cutting it in half. Anyway, the idea behind the seed snail is it saves space. So when I'm growing in a system indoors and I have limited space, I really want to shove as many plants in as I can, which is another reason why I like soil blocks, because they don't take near as much room. But it's always fun to try something new, and this is what keeps life exciting, okay? I'm cutting them with the only scissors in my house I could find, which are my child's football scissors. So there's that. Now I've seen people do like big transplants, like tomatoes and peppers in these. I'm not sure that I will, just because I like to have a really sturdy plant when it goes outside, and when something grows that close together, it's going to get tall and spindly because it's fighting for light. But what I'm trying today is going to be onions, and I think that is going to grow amazing in a seed snail. I'm going to use my little pan to mix it up. Now it's important, you must wet down the soil before you put it in your snail. Now we're trying this together, okay? So here's trial and error number 1. You just make a little even layer of soil in your snail, and then the fun part is when like when your seedling gets a little bigger and you have to repot it, you don't have to repot the seed snail, you just unroll it and then add more soil to it. Now I think it's just going to be easy as rolling it up. Oh, I forgot the most important part. You have to have tape. You do need a piece of tape to tape your seed snail shut. Okay, full transparency. My tape definitely does not stick once you water it. I don't know if the person that I watched, I am going off a video that has been stored in my brain for over a year, so maybe I don't remember what she did. But I'm going to use a rubber band. Much better. Put a little piece of tape on it. Try not to spill everything out, but look. See why it's called a seed snail? Isn't that fun? And then people put a little extra soil in the top Maybe I'll settle it down. I've got my little basket of seeds. Very dirty fingers. I probably should have got out the seeds that I wanted to grow before I touched the dirt. Just for example, I'm going to start this onion seed today. I've never grown this variety before, but the reason why I grew it is, for one, it's in my zone. So there's 3 different zones for onions: long day, intermediate day, and short day. You can get away with intermediate day in both zones, I believe. But I'm in a long day, which means we have long sun hours in the summertime. And I also chose this variety because it says excellent keeper. I'm trying to grow enough onions for an entire year. And so I want things that are going to last a long time in storage. So you need to pay attention to that with lots of things that you grow if you're trying to store them. Now, all I have to do is put some seeds in the top. I'm just going to wind it around. You can put onions really, really close together. Like when I traditionally grow onions, which I'm also going to do just in case I either 1, don't like this method, or 2, it doesn't work for me, is I will take a whole flat, fill it full of soil, and put a whole packet of seeds in the top of it and just let them grow. Onions benefit from tight spacing because they're not branching. They're only going up. So when you grow them close together, they just get taller faster. And then to top it off, I'm just going to cover it with some more soil. And you always need to make sure that even though your soil is moistened, I always like to water it in at least a little bit. Onions have a pretty hard seed coat, so the water helps soften it so that it can germinate faster. And I promise you guys, as soon as this weather gets its act together, I'll be back with more videos. But as of right now, I'm just like a sad, hibernating summertime person. You summertime people can relate, can't you? Anyway, I'm going to be posting so much content when spring comes. I'm going to be so busy, and I'm going to take you guys along with me. So make sure that you subscribe and keep an eye out for new videos. I know that it's really few and far between right now, but spring is on the horizon, people. It's coming. That's what I keep telling myself so that I won't be so sad every day. Thank you guys for watching. If you start the seed snail experiment, tag me. I'm on Instagram at Honey Trail Farm. Not very often because I have no control over my brain. If I have the apps on my phone, I will only be on apps. And I just can't have that. I have too much work to do. But I will see it eventually, so tag me in it. Anyway, I'm going to get back to seed snailing. Thank you guys for watching. Until next time.